Ian Rapoport, also Mike Garafolo joining us. Ian, we'll start with you. To take us through this deal, how did this all happen? It's seemingly pretty fast to send Marcus Peters, or at least agree in terms for Marcus Peters to come to L.A.
Well, they are still finalizing this deal now. The Los Angeles Rams, the Kansas City Chiefs, still haggling over the final piece of this deal. But make no mistake, this is something that is expected to get done. And really, ever since the Chiefs made a pretty bold move in trading Alex Smith to the Redskins in exchange for Kendall Fuller and a draft pick, it became clear that someone had to go in their secondary. They thought about maybe a couple potential other moves. Steven Nelson, moving him would be one. In the end, they decided it was going to be Marcus Peters, a first-round pick just a couple years back, but someone who is not going to be long for Kansas City. We know, Mike, that he was suspended last year, never really quite got along with Andy Reid, and was not someone that owner Clark Hunt was going to pay on a long-term extension. So once it became obvious that the Chiefs were looking elsewhere, looking outside the organization, saying, where can we send this guy, then several other teams got involved. The Cleveland Browns and general manager John Dorsey, who actually drafted Peters when he was with Kansas City, they were involved. The 49ers were involved. But it was the Los Angeles Rams that made the most sense, and that is the team that Peters is now going to.
He got suspended last year, Ian, but then what happened the following week? He came back, he apologized to his teammates, 2 interceptions, a fumble forced. You saw some of those plays we just showed you against the Los Angeles Chargers. So the floor on Marcus Peters and the ceiling on Marcus Peters, there is a huge spread there. He does take chances at times, and that's what allows him to make plays that have an impact on the game, interceptions and turnovers to force these kinds of things. So sometimes you get a corner that likes to play it safe, sometimes not so much. So there's just a lot that goes into Marcus Peters. I understand why the Chiefs would want to move on from him at this point. I also understand why the Rams would be excited to get him, because this is a guy that can be a difference maker when he's on his game, when he is focused. And Patrick, you were just playing the clip from the other day from Andrew Siciliano and I talking on air about these Marcus Peters rumblings, and we went back and we reviewed the tape, and I said in there, nobody was ruling it out. I guess that should have been the dead giveaway to tell us that something was coming, because if something's not coming, people are surely quick to say, now you guys are way off base, and nobody was doing it in this case. Nobody was also saying anything was imminent either, so I get the sense that this thing could have come together quickly. We're still working to find out exactly how this came together, but the fact that nobody was throwing up the stop sign for us should have been a dead giveaway.
Yeah, it's always a tell.
You're right, Mike, and actually over the last couple days, what the Chiefs did was very quietly, even though we were sort of discussing it publicly, very quietly the Chiefs reached out to a couple friendly faces who may be interested in Marcus Peters. One, the Indianapolis Colts, who had Chris Ballard, the former personnel man with the Kansas City Chiefs. They also reached out to John Dorsey with the Cleveland Browns. Both those guys had some measure of interest, but were never quite willing to pay the price that the Rams did. And so in the end, the Rams get one of the top corners in the NFL, someone they're going to have to deal with, but that is something that they managed throughout the last couple years with Tremaine Johnson. Maybe not to the same level, but something they certainly did manage. And this, by the way, does mean that Tremaine Johnson is now going to be a free agent and one of the top corners now on the market. So this trade, which is going to be finalized today, does have significant ramifications, both in Peters, both in the Chiefs as they try to remake their roster and so on. They did not see as part of the future, and then with as far as free agency goes as well.
Ian, why is that? Why is it a done deal set that they won't be able to both be there in Los Angeles, in Tremaine Johnson and Marcus Peters?
Well, mainly because of the price tag, and the Rams are always cognizant of how much they pay guys in what position, what money gets allocated to what position. They paid Tremaine Johnson 2 franchise tags. He's probably going to command more than that this year. Now they get Marcus Peters in the fold. They're going to have a future salary for him. So it's unlikely you're going to pay Tremaine Johnson, say, $16 or $17 million a year. Then Marcus Peters that next year. Plus you got LaMarcus Joyner, Mike. We talked about yesterday. Could get the franchise tag or potentially a long-term deal. That is a lot of money tied up in that secondary, or would be.